A new Fed study is blowing up everything the establishment has told us about tariffs. Researchers looked at 150 years of data. They found tariffs actually lower inflation because they shock demand and cause unemployment and slam economic activity. Well, that doesn't sound great. And if this is true, though, the Fed has been responding to an inflation threat that never existed. Now, I always said this.
That's not great.
I didn't believe that they were inflationary. I thought they would slow consumption. The way we wrote it there was a little bit more jarring, but that's how I see it.
I said it too.
Yeah.
I said it too because American people know this as well, that if you added a sales tax, even a small one, nobody's going to say that's inflationary. Like, if sales taxes aren't inflationary, if anything, on the margin, they would discourage consumption.
Right.
And this is a sliver of a value-added tax, and it's inserted. And
So, then-
that's so yeah, the Fed is full of jackasses. Many of
Here's
whom.
why.
Oh, you
Where
saw
is
the
the
woman.
inflation myth coming from then?
What I think it is, we've talked about it, and Brian, you just mentioned it. The economists were assuming that a one-time price adjustment, if that's what tariffs led to, they were assuming that that was the inflation, right? Inflation is like the price on top of the price on top of the price, not a one-time price increase, which is not inflationary. It is a one-time adjustment, right? Economists, you correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm wondering if they were confusing the two and assuming that that one-time price adjustment was going to lead to that inflationary spiral. But as we discussed, too much money chasing too few goods is the definition maybe of inflation. You're looking at me again like I'm crazy.
Charitable. It's very charitable.
You keep doing that to me.
No, it's very charitable to say that the Democrats confuse their. They don't have. There is no Democrat dogma on tariffs. Okay, Democrats like tariffs. For most of my lifetime, they have been the pro-tariff party. Actually, they didn't repeal any of Trump's tariffs. When Biden took over, he kept Trump's tariffs. They like tariffs. They don't like Donald Trump.
Yep.
They think tariffs are inflationary now because they don't like Donald Trump, and they're projecting the problem they created under Biden onto Trump by saying he's going to create inflation. So like this is all politics. The economic theory was thrown out a long time ago in this debate. The bottom line is, if tariffs have an effect on the economy, it slows things down.
Demand destruction.
It can do a couple of things. One thing it does is it raises some prices, and it means people consume less, and it slows down consumption. And the other thing it can do for a temporary period or more is it can make input costs to companies more expensive, and that's going to slow them down as well. Okay. So that's just what happens. Now, the payoff to the tariffs might be better. It might be good strategically to do that vis-a-vis China or vis-a-vis somebody else because we've got a fundamentally unfair trade relationship. But that's the economics of this thing. It's not an inflation situation. The Fed to act like it's going to create inflation is stupid. Like, they should know better than that when they think about interest rates. And I think they should be weighing job cuts more significantly than inflation risks right now.
Yep.
But they're political, too, and they're not doing that. And you can see all of them with glee right now that they're not getting any data because it makes them seem like they can be hawks for once.
Can I just add one thing before we move on? Thank God that Steve Myron is on the board now, because the woman that he replaced, and I said jackasses and I meant it 8 ways till Sunday, not Myron, but certainly Powell. And Adriana Kugler, we found out over the weekend that she was violating the ethics rules and the central bank's trading rules. She was trading individual stocks and executing financial transactions close to the Fed meetings when interest rates were being set, actions that led to her abrupt resignation. They tell us now, yeah, they're scumbags.
Brianna, on the consumption question that Brian was talking about, are people slowing down their consumption? My feeling is there has been no evidence of it in the data so far. It seems like the consumer is still out there and pretty strong. What is like the Gen Z feeling about a one-time price adjustment or whatever it might be? Are they feeling it?
Amongst my generation, I would say no. In fact, consumption is our bread and butter because of social media always influencing us with trends. I will say the tariff-driven recession was a lie that the propaganda press created. They told us that we were going to do that, and it did two things. One, it disincentivized the Fed from cutting interest rates, despite Donald Trump repeatedly saying now is the time to do so. And it also was supposed to gin up support for Democrats ahead of these off-year election cycles to say Donald Trump is destroying the economy. If they were to have admitted that there's no actual evidence that this is a tariff-induced recession or we're heading to one, it would have been hard for Democrats to spin that the economy is so awful compared to Biden. So this was part of their long-term plan for Democrats.
I didn't hear them talking a lot about recession, because if we got a recession, that would mean the Fed should cut rates, and they didn't want that to happen. They talked a lot more about inflation because they didn't want the Fed to cut rates. If they would have talked about recession, I said, interesting conversation, maybe, maybe not. And you're right, GDP growth has actually been pretty good this year, even amidst, but they were trying to like stretch it with the inflation.
And for voter purposes, either word is evil enough.
It
so
is.
It doesn't
I
matter.
agree.
You get to
Totally.
pick your, but the inflation is more damaging to a certain degree.
It has been, these tariffs and the trade fight has been hard on other economies. That you had the Japan and Switzerland both contracted in the third quarter because of the higher taxes that U.S. businesses had to pay to buy these goods.
All right, it's out there.